Hey everybody, so good to be with you this afternoon. Want to jump into today's training. So welcome. So glad that you're here. We're going to cover each week a strategy that you're going to be able to use to help generate the leads, convert the sales, or generate the profit that you need to be able to win for your business again without having to pay for leads on the front end. So among those three, today is going to be all about the lead generation side as opposed to sales conversion or profitability. So really specifically, what we're going to cover on this session today is going to be about how you can beat out your competitors that may have deeper pockets than you do. So give you a little bit of background or frame for this. So one of the things that I've noticed as I've gotten a little older, at least my kids will tell you that, is that I tend to watch a lot more documentaries than I used to. And as I've tried to think about why that's the case, and as I've talked to other people who maybe are in the same boat and raise your hand, maybe that's you, it's the real story. And I have just such more interest in the authenticity, knowing the real story, understanding the who's, the whys, the ups and downs and struggles that people have gone through, or some of the triumphs they've made, and all the different things that make it a real story, as opposed to what can kind of feel sometimes manufactured or fake, and we're exposed to so many other things that are competing for that. So I think that's really what it comes down to, is that we're really pulled and drawn into real stories. And as it turns out, if you think about it, that really is one of the advantages that you have as a contractor, smaller business owner, than maybe some of the bigger, deeper pocketed folks that are really just a logo. And there really isn't a face to the name or face to the brand or face to the company. And that's something that we're really not taking advantage of if we're not really sharing that story with people that are really looking for us to help take care of them and their homes or their projects or the things that they need to have finished. So let's bring in the human element, and let's talk about some of the ways you can leverage your personal story to help generate the leads without, again, having to spend a bunch of extra money or cut your advertising budget. Okay. So a couple of things before we jump into some of the hows. Let's talk about some of the mistakes. They're pretty common that a lot of folks tend to make. First one is that we tend to only think about just the facts. We're too logical, too left brain. So we might just talk about in the story things like, hey, we started our business on XYZ date, and we have ABC certifications or licenses, or we serve this area or these zip codes or these cities or these counties. And that's really all that we talk about. And we think that that's really not telling the story. It's just giving straight data and facts. And so when I see a lot of contractors or home service folks do this wrong, they really just leave it as simple as that. And they don't really go into the human element. So again, just don't leave it just the facts. Let's tell a bit more about the personal story. One of the other second mistakes that I see quite often is that people leave it just at arm's length. Our goal is to pull people in and invite them to get to know us. We don't want to just leave it so impersonal and just, again, without some of the heart that really exists, that gives people a reason as to why they should choose you over anybody else. So the third thing is that their mistake a lot of folks make is they just simply don't do it at all. They don't share the story anywhere. Or if they do, they bury it on an About Us page on your website and feel like, okay, good, we checked the box. We did all we needed to do. But it turns out using your story can actually be something that you integrate as part of your regular communication plan, part of your regular marketing across so many different places. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. But again, don't leave this and underutilize something that really can be a powerful tool to help convert and build the trust and the excitement among your audience, or the people that want to get to know you or want to choose someone they really can get to know and feel a connection with, as opposed to just anybody else who might be able to do something that could otherwise feel kind of commoditized, and we don't want to be in that space. So I got a tool I'm going to show up on the screen here that you can use to follow along, and I'll drop a copy of that. If you're watching this and you don't have a copy, just drop us a comment below or find it in the guides, and we'll make sure you have it so you can get that going. But let's get started. All right, so here's a quick framework you can use to be able to help tell your story. If you're thinking, well, shoot, I need some help figuring out how to do this. Well, here's a quick way to get it done. So think about we're trying to bake a cake here. So if there's a couple ingredients you might want to use to help you make a story that's going to be really compelling. Now, we've got 5 examples here. You don't feel like you need to use all of them. Each one of them unto itself, if it really resonates with you, could be its own piece or own individual piece of content that you put and across a lot of different places. Again, we'll talk about that in just a minute, but at least have one of these, or if not a couple of them, as you're creating this part of how you're going to share your story with your audience to help get them to know and want to trust you and work with you and raise their hand or call you to hire you to help them out. So the first one could be just talk about your journey, how you got started. A lot of folks I talk to, part of their story might be, look, I was working as an apprentice, or I was working for somebody else for so many years. And after a while, I just really started to see that there's really an opportunity for me to help turn something into this for myself. I wanted to be able to help create something and do it my way, or I saw ways to do it better. And that's quite a common, but still tell your version of that. How did you find into this? Is it something you just always wanted to do, or were there certain circumstances, maybe someone you worked with, a mentor, a family member, somebody else that really sparked your passion and reason for wanting to do that, get into your own business and run your practice or run your business? So tell a bit more about how you got started. What was it? What were those key inflection points or key moments over the last several years or time leading up to when you decided to get it going? Tell us about that. Second key ingredient, tell us about some of your successes or achievements. Maybe, especially even the earlier days, maybe it was the first big project that you landed or the first big contract, and just how that felt and how that changed for you before you really hadn't really made that first step. Are there certain other achievements or awards or recognitions? Maybe you've been nominated for, best in your area, best in your state, or when you got your first 10, 20, 100 Google 5-star reviews, whatever that case may be. Just you can tell a bit about what that was like and what you put into making sure that happened, or maybe it's somebody on your team. Tell a bit about some of those successes and achievements. Could be another great piece of that story that people want to pull in to get to know. And don't be afraid, number 3, to share about some of your failures and challenges. It's okay to be vulnerable. Nobody's perfect, and we don't expect that. But I think what we can do is learn when things go wrong. And I think a lot of times that can actually be a really, really powerful piece of the story if you leverage it or are okay talking about it. Again, just what did you learn from it? And make sure that's part of as you share your failures and successes. Or failures and challenges, rather. Fourth piece, talk about some of the values and beliefs. I was talking with one of my clients the other day, and as we were going through this exercise, he was sharing how he thought, what, I want to make sure that people know that we don't cut corners. We really pay really meticulous attention to detail, because we've seen a lot of other problems that go wrong when they've had other people in their industry skip steps or try and do things the quick and easy way as opposed to doing it the way that's really right. And he shared a little bit about how much of a core value that was for him, to help people know that that's what they can count on when they hire him or someone on his team. So what are some of those core values, beliefs, things that you really want to weave into how you tell your story? Think about some examples there. Last part, again, ingredient number 5, and this is another key one where if you just give yourself a little moment to think about it, what's your passion? What is your dedication? Do you have a bigger picture or vision? Is it you want to be able to help 100 homeowners this year, or do you want to be able to help accomplish, again, some other big, humongous goal? Is there a charity or cause you want to support? And that's why you're really dedicated to growing your business to the level that you want to. I mean, what is it that really drives you every single day? And that's something that, again, I think people want to resonate, because your ideal audience and the kind of people you want to serve and work with, the kind of customers and the relationships you want to create over time are going to be people that share some of those same passions, or at least will appreciate and resonate with the passion that you have. You've got to put that in and be willing to share that with folks. So they're going to be able to, again, want to call you over someone else that isn't willing to simply go there. So be willing to go there. You'll find that it pays off huge dividends as you do it. A couple of quick things to look out for. So there's a concept of oversharing. So we've got a couple of guidelines, things as you're thinking about how you want to put this together. And you may want to avoid some of the super highly personal or intimate details that don't really relate to the business or your brand. You might want to be careful about some of the opinions that could feel as controversial. You don't want to ostracize or alienate some of your potential clients or customers. So keep it, again, pretty clean and on the up and up that way. And third part just might be, again, negative or unprofessional interactions with customers. So again, even though we know that not everything goes perfectly, if you're going to share a story about something that may have gone wrong, again, you can keep it objective or keep it more fact-based or about the situation, rather than trying to tear down a specific individual or person or whatever it was. That's just something, again, to be aware of the tone of how you talk about some of those other difficult circumstances. Again, you can do it in a way that leverages it really well, but just don't make it so it's an attack or something where you're tearing somebody down. Watch your language a little bit. There are some folks that inside your audience that may be a turnoff or a shutdown. So just be aware of that. And then you don't want to have it be something that comes across as overly promotional or sales focused as you're sharing this particular part of your content or this part of your story, this part of your strategy. And this is more just about connecting with people. Don't feel like at the end you need to have some kind of, so call today to hire me. That's really not what we want to do. That's not what this is for. There's certainly plenty of other times and places where you should invite people to call right now and book an appointment, get a free estimate, whatever the case may be. But this isn't quite the time for that. So be aware of that mistake, which sometimes we can fall into. So hopefully this has been helpful. To use this tool next, that really we want to then put it into practice. So my challenge and invitation to you is then use this framework to document and think about, okay, well, where do we go from here? So as you go and create your next piece of how you want to share your story, think about what's your format, because it's going to change a little bit based on where you're sharing it. And think about which one of these four you're most comfortable with. Maybe you're just more comfortable just getting on video and shooting it. Maybe you're more comfortable just writing it out. Think about where you want to leverage it. You don't have to pick them all and do them all right away if that feels overwhelming or not something you want to jump into first. So jump in and just grab one of these to get started. But what you'll find, and I'm a big believer in doing one thing and leveraging it across a lot of other use cases. So again, work smarter, not harder, right? So pick one and get started, and then think about, as you iterate over time, how else you can use that same core piece, but maybe how you might tweak it a little bit based on whether you're sharing on a video, putting it in a blog post, sending it via email, posting it on social media, and even with other social media platforms, you might need to make some minor adjustments so it really communicates well there. So then again, pick your platform, and then you can use that as a frame to get started in which of the ingredients you want to choose. Again, we talked about you don't have to pick all five, but at least get one or maybe a couple, and then jot down a couple of quick examples or a couple of quick stories or factoids or anecdotes, things you might want to put in to support each one of these five, and just map them out a little bit. You'll have the basic ingredients you need to make your cake. So use that as a place to get started. So here's just a worksheet you can use. Again, I'll upload this file to the attachment of this recording in the training section. So great, you can get a copy there. Or if you can't find it or need some help, just reach out to me or my team or put a comment inside the group. We'll make sure we get you everything you need to be able to put this into practice. Okay. Where do you go from here at this point? So I'd say that if you want help, and one of the next key things you can use to leverage this even more going forward, build this as part of your overall content calendar strategy. If you need a copy or want some help with some of the tools that we use with our clients, just drop a comment in the post in guide 3, and we can certainly make sure you get a copy of that. Or again, if you want to brainstorm or help brainstorming a plan for how you can use this as part of your overall strategy to generate more leads without having to spend an extra dime on marketing or advertising, you can grab a spot on my calendar there. Thanks for tuning in. So glad that we're here. Glad that you checked us out. Again, looking forward to hearing how it goes. Hit us up and let's see it happen.